Hello, MGTOW. Hello, men. This is Howard Dare. Thanks for stopping by. I want to talk about my upcoming animated movie, Big Boobed Monsters from Earth. But first, I want to talk about The Illusion of Beauty. And I want to read a little bit from the book, The Illusion of Beauty by N.K. Humphreys. Beauty is truth. Truth, beauty. To the poet. But a biologist is bound, I think, to regard beauty, at least man-made beauty, as something closer to a lie. A lie, admittedly, of a unique kind, but a kind to which both men and animals are, specifically, vulnerable. If I give a hungry dog a solution of saccharin, it will lap it up. If I show a cock robin a bundle of feathers with a red patch on its underside, the robin will attack it. And if I show a man an abstract painting, or play him a piece of music, he will, if he thinks it's beautiful, stop to watch or listen. There is, I believe, a formal similarity in all these cases. In each, we have an animal performing a useful and relevant piece of behavior towards an inappropriate sensory stimulus. But there is, I agree, a rather basic difference. Namely, that in the first two cases we have a good scientific explanation of what is going on, while in the third we're almost ignorant. With the saccharin and the red-breasted bundle of feathers, we know that the artificial, illusionary stimulus corresponds to in nature, and we know how the dog or the robin's behavior would, in normal circumstances, contribute to its biological survival. Saccharin tastes like sugar, and it is biologically adaptive for a hungry dog to eat sugar. The bundle of feathers looks like another male robin, and it is biologically adaptive for a robin to drive an intruder from his territory. But in the case of a man's response to a beautiful work of art, we have no clear idea either of what the work of art corresponds to in nature, nor of why it should be biologically adaptive for men to like the natural counterpart, whatever it may be. It is with these fundamental questions of the biology of aesthetics that my paper is concerned. I planned first to try to define the particular quality which things of beauty have in common, and then to suggest a possible reason why men, and, for that matter, animals, should be attracted to the presence of that quality. Continuing on. 70 years before Darwin published The Origin of Species, the Scottish philosopher Thomas Reid suggested how a modern biologist might proceed. By a careful examination of the objects to which nature hath given this admirable quality of beauty, we may perhaps discover some real excellence in the object, or at least some valuable purpose that is served by the effect which it produces upon us. This instinctive sense of beauty in different species of animals may differ as much as the external sense of taste, and in each species be adapted to its manner of life. Reid, 1785. Yet it is easy to dismiss Reid's manifesto. The injunction to examine carefully the objects of beauty would be fine were it true that different individuals of the same species did find the same objects beautiful. But one of the central problems of aesthetics has always been that, in man at least, there is no clear consensus. The point was forcefully made by Maureen Duffy in her review of Jane Goodall's book, In the Shadow of Man. Jane Goodall had written, "But what if a chimpanzee wept tears when he heard Bach thundering from a cathedral organ?" To which Miss Duffy replied, "What indeed if an Amazon pygmy or a 19th century factory hand wept tears at such a minority Western cultural phenomenon?" Not sure I understand that. Moving on. The way out of some critics confronted with the diversity of individual taste has been to react with the cynicism of Clive Bell, stating that any system of aesthetics which pretends to be based on some objective truth is so palpably ridiculous not to be worth discussing. But William Ebsen, 1930, scorned such anti-rationality. Critics, he wrote, are of two sorts: those who merely relieve themselves against the flower of beauty, and those who less continent, who afterwards snatch it up. I myself, I must confess, aspire to the second of these classes. Unexplained beauty arouses an irritation in me. My own sympathies lie, of course, with Empson, but the roots of the flower of beauty may go deep if we are to expose them undamaged. We should start snatching at some distance from the stem. The problem of looking for common principles behind apparent diversity is not particular to aesthetics. Very similar problems have arisen in other disciplines, notably in linguistics and in anthropology. The breakthrough in these fields came through applying methods of structuralism. I believe that a structuralist approach is the key to a science of aesthetics. So there's a couple different views on it. You know what I mean? One stating essentially that form follows function, and that those things which can perform their function, which a species desires, are perceived as beautiful. A woman who is healthy and biologically fit to produce children and to care for them is going to appear to be beautiful to the man who's looking, to mate. And that makes, very good sense to me. And I guess the other point, which I don't understand, was illustrated by, the quote of, by Jane Goodall, having written, "But what if a chimpanzee wept tears when he heard Bach thundering from a cathedral organ?" To which Miss Duffy replied, "What indeed if an Amazon pygmy or a 19th century factory hand wept tears at such a minority Western cultural phenomenon?" So now let's move on to the idea that a modern woman is using makeup. And I've discussed this before in, how women fake reality, but it's worth repeating because what is she doing? She's trying to fake health, and she's trying to fake that she's in that period of, where she can reproduce, where she's the most sexually attractive to men. Women objectify themselves. Oh, they just want to look pretty. No, they just want to look like they're ready to have sex all the time, so that the men around them are, coming up to them and placating them, and then they're rejecting them. But if you were to get a good look at how the woman really looks, she's not that attractive. Her skin is not that healthy. Her cheeks are not that red. Her lips are not that full. Her eyes are not that, there's not that much contrast and, depth of color in her eyes. There are dark circles around her eyes, and she's putting on this makeup to look like something she's not, so that the man will respond to her like he would respond to, a beautiful painting or something like that, inappropriately. He will respond to her inappropriately, and I don't mean like, that's not the right thing to do, although that's what the woman pretends. He'll respond to her like she's a healthy female that's ready to, reproduce, when in fact she's not. She's an angry feminist who's looking to find fault with men and exploit the situation and preemptively attack them. It's a form of sexual cannibalism. And I've covered this in Dark Side of Female Nature and The Black Widow Spider and Modern Women. They're some of my earlier videos, but they still have great points. So I highly recommend them. And I recommend them to any man, especially young men. We really do need some classes. They have gender studies in schools to teach the women about how horrible the men are and how dangerous the men are and how men have been oppressing them for thousands of years. So why don't we have a situation where they teach the men that biologically women are very deceptive, and that all these things that they're saying, these are just innocent little things. No, these are tricks of biology. And when the man gets caught out by these things, he's going to pay a terrible price. So that's what beauty is in this day and age. It should have been an indicator of health, of the ability to perform a function. It should have been an indicator. Aesthetics should have been an indicator of health and well-being. But it's an illusion. The female is faking it. Men don't wear makeup. Men don't get boob jobs or chest jobs. And you have to think that, well, this isn't related to the subject. This has nothing to do with that. So that's what the female is doing. It's a lie. It's deception by nature. It's trying to trick the man into, responding in this way. And if women didn't want to be sex objects, then they would put on makeup to make themselves look less attractive. And any woman that wants to can always put on a burqa. She doesn't have to expose herself. The women are intentionally going to work with as much makeup on as possible to make themselves look sexually attractive, to dress as revealingly as possible, and to attract as much attention as possible without being accused of being just an outright slut, whore, tramp. It's very deceptive. She's luring the men in with a false front. It's like a black widow spider saying, it's ready to have sex. That's what the makeup is. And when the man then responds to that, she accuses him of misconduct, of moral misconduct, and then uses the system, sexual harassment laws, sexual misconduct laws, to attack the man with the system. And it's becoming rampant in our culture. The women, and it's a false attack too. That's the exact nature. Please check out my video, Black Widow Spiders and Modern Women. That's exactly what it is. It is a false attack. So the women are going to, lure the person in that she's ready for sex. And then when the man makes those gestures, she's going to accuse him of a crime. And then she's going to use the system to exploit the resources from him. And it's an insect behavior. That's what the spiders do. They just don't have all the, infrastructure that we do. So I had some other points on this subject that I wanted to make because it's a real interesting subject. Women are objectifying themselves. And then when men approach them, as an object of sexual gratification, that's how they're dressing up, the women attack them. And then when the men don't approach them, the women attack them. So I'm going to leave it at that for now, but let me give you an update on some of the animated stuff I'm working on. Big Boobed Monsters from Earth, or Feminists in Space. I'm just trying to set up a little trailer for it, and these things always end up taking longer than I anticipate. And I'm still working on Vampire Fiction, which has feminists taking control of Western civilization and then running it into the ground. But before they do that, they go to space. Let me know what you think about this and the other subjects in the comment section below. Please like, share, comment, subscribe. Please join me again, Howard Dare, as I hope to have more content for you. Thank you, MGTOW.